can be hard when you grow up. People fill you with doubt, you start thinking about what you're gonna do now. And it's do or die, gotta make it count. So lose your worries, let your problems go on until my whole body burns out. I ain't never gonna slow down. I ain't never gonna slow down.
Welcome everyone, this is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about the different types of parenting styles there are. If you know anything about me, longtime educator, recent parent, maybe just 2 years in if you want to consider it that. And I have been helping parents along the way raise their children from the tender age of 3 months old, helping them with life-saving skills like swimming, all the way to music training to now mindset training. And what I will say is that there are many types of parenting styles. This is not an episode of talking about which one is the best, but this is going to be talking about the different types of parenting styles, maybe ones that are going to be better for certain situations, certain ages, and you get to change them how you feel. Because if you maybe want to be a very aggressive parent, that's fine. You're just going to have a different type of child. So we can look at what type of children are created with what type of parent, but this is going to be for you, right? Learning about these parenting styles. And then if you are a parent listening to this, if you want to reach out to us here at Reven Concepts and to learn about your parenting style more in depth and what type of child you're going to get from it, that is a conversation we can have on the phone, on a Zoom, whatever. We are trying to not only instill this wisdom into you, but to help you understand that the style of parenting that you have right now can be adjusted if you're not getting the results that you are looking for with your family and maybe even yourself. So we're going to be looking at that blog in just a moment, but I do want to say episode 400, here we are on the podcast. We are not going to be necessarily bringing in the party today for the podcast. That's going to be for our Wednesday episode. Episode 401, we're going to be talking about the milestone. Today is a tune-up series, a TOS, part of the blog series that we have here at Reven Concepts. And we're going to be talking about parenting styles today. That's going to be our focus. And then next episode that comes out Wednesday, we're going to be talking about the milestone, which is 400 plus of a podcast. But let's take a look at that blog right now. All right, everyone, if you're new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and to share the video and or audio to help build a community of like-minded individuals. And today we're going to be talking about the idea and the concept of parenting styles. Now, I do have, I think, about 10 parenting styles that I have in this blog here. What I will tell you is that just because there's 10 here, it doesn't mean that there's only 10. Just because there's one that might not reflect your parenting style, it doesn't mean that there is no parenting style that reflects what you do. All right. Everyone can be bunched up into a parenting style. It might be a very vague parenting style, but what I will say is every parent has a certain path that they go on for their children. I'm going to be the protector. I'm going to be the provider. I'm going to be the mother bear or the father bear or whatever. I'm going to be the friend, the best friend, right? There could be good and there could be bad to parenting styles. There's no perfect parenting style. Sometimes you might have to use some in conjunction with each other. Sometimes you might have to change parenting styles the same way teachers do with different age groups. For example, when I first started teaching middle school, I was doing the things that I thought all kids would enjoy. And I was just like, oh, wait, middle schoolers are different than elementary schoolers, right? You can't be like, oh, hey, how you doing, guys? You have to say, what's up? Just kind of be, emotionless. And it's like, oh, yeah, we can resonate with this person because they feel how I feel. Not necessarily. It's just that you acclimate your teaching style. So there's going to be different aspects to education. And the same thing is true with parenting. We're not going to teach kindergarten the same way we do middle school. We're not going to teach middle school the same way we do high school because the kids are different. They're in a different place psychologically, mentally. As you grow, your mind changes. And so should your teaching style as a teacher. But do parents understand that their parent style should adjust also? And this is why many parents have a hard time when it comes to teenagers or when it comes to dealing with someone who's a bit rebellious or a bit different. It's because they don't know a different style than what they have been doing for their whole entire life. Or maybe their whole entire kid's life. So there's going to be aspects you do have to look at as a parent, and we're going to be looking at them today, just right now, going over those parenting styles. We're just going to be naming them really quickly right now and then talking about some of them on the podcast. Again, I encourage everyone to check out this blog. All of them are right here for you to copy, print, put on your wall, and maybe to remember your favorite or to adjust if you want to make a change. Our first parenting style is attachment parenting. Our second parent style is going to be positive discipline. Our third style is authoritative parenting. Our fourth style is going to be permissive parenting. Our fifth style is going to be uninvolved parenting. Our sixth style is going to be helicopter parenting. Our seventh style is going to be free range parenting. Our eighth is going to be spiraling parenting. 9 is going to be tiger parenting. And 10 is going to be natural parenting. Now, at any given time, these 10 can be used in conjunction with each other. You can make a hybrid. You can melt them all together if you wanted to and have a different flavor. I love teachers, especially teachers, who know how to use different teaching styles. I typically call these teachers sugar and spice, meaning they can be sweet and they can be spicy. And I love when a teacher can be spicy, not just always sweet and a pushover, because sometimes you need that spice for the kids to understand, she means or he means business. Teaching can be very similar to parenting styles. We're not going to get into the teaching styles. I don't think it's necessary for mindset. If a school wants to hire me for a workshop on teaching styles, I'll be more than happy to put that together. But for now, parents, this is going to be helping you so much more. Teachers should be equipped already. Personal development, workshops, seminars, all of that should be coming your way. Teachers, you should be doing daily work to be the best educator you can be for the students and to do your job the most effectively in the given era that you're in. So parenting styles, however, people don't realize how fast parenting goes. One moment you're holding your baby for the first time and you never want to let go, and the next moment they're running away from you and they don't want to be hugged and they don't want to be kissed and they don't want to be held. It's a cycle almost where they love you, then they hate you, and then they love you again. But there are parenting styles that can kind of create a ebb and flow of a static emotional content between parent and child, where it doesn't so drastically affect the relationship, where you can have a relationship where maybe you can be open about things and you can be cordial about things. And it's not so much of being a dictator or being the authoritarian. It's more about, let's see how we can make this work for both of us. Because if you have been a long time listener, you know there's different types of mindsets. There's different types of learner. They're just different type of people. And on our next Monday episode, actually, we're going to be talking about generational mindsets. And that's going to give you a whole new aspect to this because they're in a different generation than you are. So how you think and what your mindset is not the same as theirs. So unless you're able to look at what they see as important, you are going to struggle as a parent. That's why coaching is so important. That's why so many parents come to me to help mentor and coach their children through the tough ages of teenhood and young adulthood from 18 to 22. We're trying to give them the best possible foundation for the rest of their life. Now, you might think that the foundation is only going to be from 0 to 7. We talked about that on the podcast. Yes, 0 to 7 is a core critical time when you do want to set a solid foundation for them. But when you're trying to get into adulthood, it's almost like a plateau, and then we need a new foundation. So there's so many aspects to growing, to parenting styles, and we're going to be talking about these parenting styles today. So as we go down this list, I do want you to be aware that there is no order to this style of parenting. So for example, number 1 is attachment parenting. Number 1, attachment parenting doesn't mean this is the number 1 style, people, okay? I don't want you to think that attachment parenting is the only style, it's the number 1 style that you need to do. It is just our first on the list. I say this because you might think that attachment parenting can be a good thing. And you might be a person that you think attachment parenting can be a bad thing. You get to decide your parenting style. Okay, this is not for me to decide. This is for me just to inform you, to educate you to different types of parenting styles. So the key principles of attachment parenting are responding promptly to a baby's needs, such as feeding, comforting, changing diapers. You are co-sleeping in a room, sharing the room with the same baby, right? So the baby will probably go on the king size bed. The baby won't be stuck in a room by themselves in a crib or whatever. They're in the room with the parent. And then you have the idea to keep the baby close to you at all times. So if you are going into the kitchen, you bring the baby with you. You're not just going to leave the baby on the sofa or leave the baby in the swing. I'm going somewhere, the baby needs to come with me. Okay, not a problem. Then we have the avoiding harsh discipline for the baby, right? So something goes wrong and you're just giving gentle guidance, right? You just say, hey, this instead. Oh, don't do that. There's no really true discipline. There's no hitting or severe punishments. That is going to be attachment parenting. As I said it, I'm sure there's parents that are like, I beat my kids all the time and they're turning out fine. Or the reason why these kids are like this today is because they didn't get beat when they were kids. So attachment parenting is the problem. But attachment parenting can have a place in the role of raising a child. From the age 0 to 2, whether you like it or not, a child is going through a developmental process that is going to either make or break them. If you do not give a child enough love and attention between 0 and 2, they're going to have some type of psychological outburst. Maybe they're going to have behavioral challenges. Maybe they're not going to know how to love effectively as they turn adults. There could be many different variations to this, depending on the environment, what type of parent, depending on how things work. This can be a problem. I'm sure if you have breastfed a baby, there's going to be different schools of thought. After a year, you should stop breastfeeding the baby. And there's going to be schools of thought that you have to wait till 2. Because psychologically, if you are denying the baby after the baby has spent a year breastfeeding, the baby's going to say, I guess my mom doesn't want me anymore. Now, the baby's not intelligent enough at that point to say, oh, the reason why mom's doing this is because the breast milk is not giving me anything, right? This is more of a comfort thing for me. And I need to know how to self-regulate by myself and not so much breastfeeding as I did when I was 1-. So again, different schools of thought, different studies. I mean, we can go down the list. But what I will say is you get to choose what type of parent you want to be. We get into number 2 that we're going to be talking about today, positive discipline. Now, some key principles to positive discipline are going to be setting clear boundaries and expectations, using positive reinforcement such as praise and rewards to encourage good behavior. Next, problem solving and conflict resolution through open communication. And 3, avoiding punitive measures like yelling or spanking. I would say that this is going to be very much in line with what I do with raising kids. As a teacher, you cannot touch another person's kid. So you're not going to yell at them or spank them, things along those lines. That is not your child. You're not there to harm them or give them trauma. You're there to educate them. That is your job. And you're also not there to give your opinion. So I know teachers mean well, right? They have their pride flags in the room, and I know they have their inclusiveness with their drag queen story time. Okay, cool. But we shouldn't be pushing things on to children, okay? If we want to have a positive upbringing for them, they should learn naturally. We shouldn't be giving them something that's a woke agenda. So basically, it's not the teacher's job to be pushing on any type of opinionated type of view like politics, who should be president. If you can be a certain type of gender, this is for the parent to decide. If the parent wants to decide that for their child, that is the parent's prerogative. So moving on to the third one, authoritative parenting. So this is going to be, again, setting clear rules and expectations while being flexible and understanding, providing emotional support and encouragement, encouraging open communication and active listening, and using constructive consequences for behavior rather than punishment. Again, something I can get behind. What I will say is you're going to find that some of these can be very similar. And then some of these are going to be like, whoa, I would never do that. But there are people who do that. You might not be one of those parents that are going to be like, okay, I'm going to punish my kids and I'm going to hit them. I'm going to give them severe punishments. You might be just cool, calm, mellow. You want to be friends with your kids. You want to love them. Awesome. The parenting style you choose is your choice. But then you can also see which ones will be good at certain ages and which ones probably won't be effective at certain ages. So maybe what you do when they're younger is not what you do when they're older. And if you think that what you did when they're younger is going to work when they're older, that's when you're going to probably need a coach. You're going to need someone to help you along the way because you're just not reaching them anymore because they changed. So you have to change too. Then we get into our fourth style. That's going to be permissive parenting. And that's going to be lenient and indulgent parenting styles. You are going to tend to avoid strict rules and discipline. And you're going to be highly responsive to a child's desires and maybe even sometimes lacking boundaries. Okay, so you do want to make sure that when you have a relationship with your kid, it is literally parent-child, not parent-friend. I know it can be difficult because maybe you're a person that spends most of your time with your children, right? Maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and your kids are your life. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be your life, but then at sometimes you have to create boundaries. For example, a boundary a parent can make is there's no alcohol drinking in this house, right? This is like for teens and stuff. Versus a parent who might be permissive and wants to give their kids everything. So when they're 15, 16, the kid says, "Hey mom, can I start drinking?" And the parent's like, "Sure. Here, here's some beer, here's some wine." There has been studies that if we look at, especially here in America, having the drinking age at 21 causes a lot of issues versus in other countries where the drinking age might be 16 or 18, where it's not going to have as many cases as addiction and alcoholism and DUIs because they have grown up with it. But then there's the science that the human body at the age of 16 to have to process alcohol, especially hard alcohol like whiskey, that could be extremely bad on the liver and extremely bad for our health. Alcohol doesn't serve any purpose besides maybe making us feel good or feel a certain way. What I will say is it is, again, the parent's decision. When I look at what I would do is not so much of probably what society does, because again, 21 is the drinking age, versus what my parents and my grandparents did. It was open, but it was very clear that we weren't supposed to have this. But then at the same time, we understood why we weren't supposed to have it. And also the parents just weren't having it regularly in front of us. Because if I grew up seeing my parents drinking all the time right in front of me, I would probably say that's normal. That's what I need to do too when I'm a grown up, right? Now we had a little bit of that in the family, but it wasn't so much where I said I need to do that myself. If I wanted a sip of wine or something, or if I'm at a wedding and they have like a champagne toast, my mom would say, "Here, you can have a sip." Or my dad would say, "Here," or my grandma would say, "Here, you can have a sip." But they didn't say, "Here, take the whole bottle, enjoy yourself." It was always appropriate to my age. And they just didn't give me things when I was a baby. It was, okay, you're 11, you can have a sip, sure. And I remember one time I went to a wedding, I was probably like 11, and I had asked my mom or my dad or whatever to have some champagne, and then I drank it and I just didn't feel good. And I was like, this alcohol thing, I don't think I like it. And sure enough, today I'm not an alcoholic. Today I don't need a drink. And if I do drink, it is very minimal. If I go with my wife might have 4 or 5 drinks. She's trying to have a good time, good night, whatever, right? That's just her personality. I might have one drink that I babysit the whole night. Whatever. I don't have to drink it. It is in front of me. But that's me. You might have a parenting style that lacks boundaries. So you get to decide what type of boundaries do you want to have. It can be that. It cannot be that. Whichever or is yours. Then we get into our next parenting style, uninvolved parenting. Now this might be the worst one. You are disengaged and neglectful to your child. You only provide the basic necessities, but you lack emotional involvement and support. That can have a detrimental effect on the child and their social development. I talked about this before on the podcast where we had the study, I believe it was Russia, they did the study of some orphan children. They would give 2 groups of children different types of care. One just got the basic food and diaper changes, and one got food, diaper changes, love, care, playtime with the parent or the caregiver. And the kids who didn't get the love and affection did poorly. 1/3 of them passed away, and then the other 2/3 had mental issues. So it's just like, what's going on? Psychologically, kids need love. I talked about it already. They need love. They need to understand that they are cared for, because if they do not feel cared for, and for them at least, what is the point of life? So if they don't feel the love, they don't feel the care, they're not going to see a purpose for life. So, or if they do see a purpose and they grow up, they're just not going to be psychologically sound or socially equipped to handle love, right? This is why you might hear people, oh, I don't know how to love when they're adults, right? Things along those lines. It could be because they never learned to love as children. Many different problems with that one. But there's parents who do that. Maybe parents who even swear by it, whichever or. Then we get into 6, helicopter parenting, and this one is just going to be overly involved, protective parenting style, hovers over the children, micromanages activity, and it hinders the child's growth because the parent is always doing everything for the child. So think of like mama's boys and stuff like that, single children. This can tend to happen with that because the parent is always like, oh, I got to do everything for my son. I got to do everything for my daughter, right? And they do. But then the child never learns how to manage it or manage their life for themselves. They don't know how to cook. They don't know how to clean because the parent did everything for them. That could be bad because now when that child is trying to find true love, connection later on in life, trying to find a relationship, a marriage, or start a family, they don't even know the basics. So that person who they're trying to be with is going to look at this like you are just a mama's boy or you're a daddy's girl or whatever it is. And that can cause some tension in the relationship, especially in the beginning, unless one person understands or changes. Again, it's a very tough place to be later on in life. But I've seen this happen a lot in schools where parents would fight the battles for the students. Let's say a kid got a B instead of an A. The parent will come in and say, why did my kid get a B? Okay, this is why your kid got a B. Even as a teacher, I had parents come up to me saying, why did my kid not get an A? And I would tell the parent, I would say, okay, this is why your kid didn't get an A or something like that. I'll even give examples. I would say, can you do me a favor? Can you finish this sentence for me? Or can you finish this phrase for me? And I would ask the parent, right? This parents, should know it, but the parent doesn't even know it. So I would say something like, the fact that you can't do it is going to create the understanding that since you can't do it, you're not at the grade level, right? So that means if he can't do it, he's not at the grade level at this point. He's not going to get an A for effort. We don't do that. You get an A because you are at grade level. If you are not at grade level, my job is to get you at grade level before the year is over. Okay? So if you get an A by the end of the year, you are at grade level. You're ready for the next grade. If you need some work, understand that because you get that A, you're going to say, oh, I'm good. I don't need to do any work. That's what kids are doing. Oh, I got an A. I'm doing great. I can stay exactly where I am. Different age groups, they need different types of motivation. A grade can be a great motivator for children to push or to stay stagnant. A teacher who just gives A's because their parents wants them to have an A, hey, that's fine. But for me, I truly cared about the kids and I want each kid to evolve and to grow. And in order to do that, I use grades. Now, if we got rid of the whole grading system, that would be even better. But it is a part of the process and it is part of the job. So you do have to do report cards. It doesn't feel good. It sucks. Then we get into our 7th, free range parenting. And this one is going to be encouraging independence and self-sufficiency in your children. It gives your children freedom and it aims to foster resilience and problem-solving skills. In teaching, this is called pragmatic teaching, or you're a pragmatic type of teacher. You're promoting pragmatic learning. And this is where the kid gets to experience things for themselves. They get to learn, okay, this is this equals that, this is problem solving. So you have a problem and then you look for the solution. This right here is, again, another great one, but then it might not be exactly what every parent wants to do because it can be a lot more work. Because you're basically saying, well, what would you do all the time? Versus, hey, let's do this. This is the right answer. Some parents are always like, here, take this. This is what you need. Good to go. That's all the kid knows. All right. This is why critical thinking is a skill that many people lack because they didn't have any independent actions growing up. They were always said, do this versus what would you do in this situation? Again, parenting styles are different. You get to decide what type of parenting style you want for your kid. And you don't even have to worry about what type of teaching style your teacher has or your child's teacher has You just need to worry about what type of parenting style that you have. Because yes, the kid is going to have maybe 8 hours of outside education, but it doesn't mean that you can't have 8 hours of in-house education with them to balance out whatever the teacher is doing, good or bad. Then we get into 8, spiral parenting. Spiral parenting is basically flexible and adaptive parenting. You recognize the parenting strategies may need to change over time. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And then you prioritize responsiveness and adapting to a child's changing needs. So for example, a child who's 4 is going to be different than a child who's 14. So a child who's 4, they're going to be getting ready to go into pre-K, kindergarten, along those lines. They might need Ziploc bags that are easy to open, lunch boxes that are easy to open. Sometimes there's thermoses that keep the food hot. Those can be very difficult for kids to open when they're at that age, and the teacher will have to open for them. I can't tell you how many times I had to help a pre-K or a kindergartner open up one of their lunches because they weren't able to do it themselves. So we do have to be aware of that. But then I also have to be aware of someone who's 14 years old. I'm not going to be peeling an orange for them. They have to learn that skill. They have to do that themselves. So there's just different aspects to teaching, to parenting. I just use both as the example at the same time. You can choose to make their life very simple at 4, and you can choose to make their life a little bit more difficult and more challenging when they're older, because that right there is going to create and foster a new type of mindset where they're solving issues versus having it easy for them. Then we get into 9, tiger parenting, and this is going to be strict discipline, high expectations, a strong focus on achievement associated with intense pressure on the child to excel academically and in extracurricular activities. So this one can be bad, but then it can also be good. It could be good because you're helping to become more disciplined to do great things, but it can be bad because it can cause stress and burnout. A child can feel stressed and burnout at any age. It doesn't matter if they're 7 and they're doing 50 sports, they can get burned out. What I recommend to parents is to put your child in as many sports as you can, as many extracurricular activities as you can, and then from there adjust. For example, swimming is an easy one. Maybe your kid loves swimming, but it's a lot of work. It could take a lot of time to do all the swim meets and everything like that. And maybe your kid kind of likes it, but doesn't truly like it as much as they like football or soccer. You're better off putting them in soccer long term and only have them in swimming until they're effective at swimming, right? They know all the strokes. They can save themselves if they fall into the pool. Life skills, right? You teach them the life skill and then you move on. But there's going to be people who say, I want my kid to be a swimmer. I want my kid to be a volleyball player, whatever. You put them in there, you keep them in there. And you might say, I want my kid to be in everything and, an all-arounder. That can cause more stress and burnout later on. And the kid is going to question eventually, hey, dad, am I supposed to be so busy? Because I asked my friends, do they do what I do? And everyone says, no, we don't do that. And so it's going to create a divide in the parenting style because you're making them do something that's different than the peers. And of course, I understand why you do it, parents. I'm just trying to help you out. At some point, now they're going to be combating. Well, my friend is not doing this. Why are you making me do this? When I know, parents, that you're making them do it because it's going to help them, okay? I understand, but sometimes they don't understand that. If you want to do that, you have to be able to tell them that too. Then we get into 10, natural parenting. That's going to be, we emphasize holistic and instinctual approach to child rearing. We include practices such as natural childbirth, breastfeeding, co-sleeping, using natural or organic products, and we prioritize close connection to nature and the environment in parenting. So everything is natural, organic. Again, this is a different type of parenting style. As you can see, we went through these 10 different types of parenting styles. There's probably so many more parenting styles that you can choose from. But what I will say is you might find that after these 10, I kind of like 2 or 3 of them. You can mix them up. Mix them up, make your own parenting style, call it your name if you want. Maybe even say what age group this parenting style is going to be most effective in. And you can do trial and error if you don't know, or you can reach out to us here at Reven Concepts and we can tell you, is this going to be an effective parenting style for that age group? So it just depends on what you're looking for. If you know anyone who's looking to be a parent or someone who's not doing a good job at parenting, maybe, who knows what the idea behind you sharing this blog to them will be. But what I can say is that this blog is going to be an effective resource for many parents at any level, at any stage of their parent journey, for them to understand that they have a huge role to play as a parent, and the style that they have is going to be a reflection of their children in the future. So again, the parenting styles we talked about today are: number 1, attachment parenting; 2, positive discipline; 3, authoritative parenting; 4, permissive parenting; 5, uninvolved parenting; 6, helicopter parenting; 7, free range parenting; 8, spiral parenting; 9, tiger parenting; and 10, natural parenting. So all in all, these parenting styles right here, I know there's only 10 of them. There could be many more, but if there was many more, guess what? There will be so much more to the podcast episode. It'll be a longer. We'll be talking about all these different parenting styles. TUSs, again, are for people who have strong mindsets. So if you are a parent who's looking at these parenting styles, I encourage you to create your own at this point and to really dive deep into what type of child you're trying to create. If you are having a hard time with any of your children, maybe a rebellious phase, maybe you don't know what to do, reach out to us here at Reven Concepts. We'll be more than happy to get you on a call to talk about what's going on. And to be honest, many parents, they want the best for their children. That's why parents will actually get coaching for their children before they get coaching for themselves. Parents will probably not say that there is a problem with them, like they just kind of push through. But yet they'll say, my kid needs this, my child needs this. And they'll pay any amount of money for their children. And most parents will. We do have to look at the aspect of, if you want to get your child coaching, you also need to be in a good, healthy place too. So don't try to say, hey, you need coaching, and then your life's a mess. There's different aspects to this whole mindset game. This is not simply the aspect of, I can make your child's life better, but if you're not doing what is needed, they're going to look down on you, or they're going to look at you for the example that you're not showing, and they're going to say, why do I have to push when you're not pushing? Why do I have to show up in life when you're not showing up in life? So this is where many of the issues come. Many parents come to me and they say, my child needs life coaching. I say, okay, what's going on with them, etc., etc. Sometimes we do family coaching, and I say, well, do you do what you want them to do? And they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Okay, well, we need to start there. Depending on where you are in your parenting style and your parenting journey, you might need coaching for yourself too to be the best parent. If you are a young parent, this is probably going to be the best place for you to get the coaching early on so you can evolve and adjust as they grow. If you are a longtime parent and this is something that is a new concept for you, I encourage you to still reach out to us. We can look at some of your past parenting styles and then see where your kid is going. And we can theorize where your child's going to be if we keep going down the path that you're on. It could be good, it could be bad, right? I'm not just here to say that any parenting style that you're having right now is going to be negative and your kid's going to be messed up. That is so far from the truth. There's parents who do an amazing job. They're killing it every single day. But as always, we are here to help any parent through any stage of child development. If they are young and rebellious, or they're teens and rebellious, or they're older and aloof and they don't know what to expect or to do in the world, we can facilitate their growth. We can help with that if they are not showing up naturally. So there's a lot to it. It's more than just let's sit and talk. We are about results. If you're looking for results, head over to revenconcepts.com today. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, email me coachinginsession@gmail.com, and I'll see everyone for the next episode of Coaching Session. We're going to be talking about the milestone, which is episode 400 plus, on episode 401 of the podcast, and you are not going to want to miss what we have in store.